Well, it looks like children under 14 are just not allowed to use social media. Or at least that's what this Florida law that goes into effect on January 1 says. It was signed into law by Governor DeSantis and says that anybody under the age of 14 in Florida cannot have a social media account, and children that are 14 or 15 can, but only under certain circumstances. But is this law actually legal? Well, you might be shocked to hear this, but it might not be, because it might run afoul of the First Amendment. And there's plenty of precedents that might suggest that this is an unconstitutional law. For example, the 2011 Supreme Court decision in Brown v. EMA that struck down a California law that prohibited minors from purchasing certain video games. And back in 1997, the Supreme Court held basically the same standard, striking down a law called the Communication Decency Act that did pretty much the same thing. And the Supreme Court did the same thing once again in 2004 in Ashcroft v. ACLU, when the bench invalidated a law, this time called the Child Online Protection Act, once again citing First Amendment violations. But the Supreme Court wasn't the only court that acted. Federal judges acted too a few years ago, citing once again First Amendment concerns, and they struck down laws that limited or prohibited access to social media to minors in the states of Texas and in Utah. Now, the problem in all these cases isn't that states are doing what they can to protect minors, but how they're doing it. They're doing it in a manner that is extreme. It basically removes access to First Amendment rights, and it does so by prohibiting parents to exercise their constitutional right to decide what children should and should not be exposed to. And I find DeSantis' position that says, I don't care what parents say, I know what's best for your children. I find that position very, very interesting, considering that just a couple of years ago, when it signed what he called a historic bill that protect parental rights in education, if you know what I'm talking about, this is what he said. And I'll quote him verbatim. "Parents' rights have been increasingly under assault around the nation, but in Florida, we stand up for the rights of parents and the fundamental role they play in the education of their children." I guess that applies almost everywhere, Ron?